It was a bit of surprise when they started asking us could we bring their message to the public. We were contacted on Cullen's birthday by a shortwave radio turning itself on in our home exactly at the hour and minute of Cullen's birth. We thought, that's odd. Got up and turned it off. For the next few days, it turned itself on at exactly the same time.
Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I have a very unique and special episode of the Reality Revolution. Finally, we get to speak to the one and only Pia and Cullen. Imagine joining hands with the person you love the most. In that moment, a voice begins to move through you that belongs to neither of you alone, a voice from the stars that is the reality my guests today have lived for years. Pia Orleane and Cullen Baird Smith are interstellar communicators who bring through the wisdom of Larkma, a group of Pleiadian light beings. They've chosen to step away from the old word channeling. They call it synchronization, a merging of hearts and minds, and it takes both of them together for the connection to open. Pia holds a PhD in psychology of consciousness and spent years as a practicing clinical psychologist and has communicated with interstellar beings, angels, and the realms of light since she was a small child. She also brings forth the voices of Mary Magdalene and the Great Mother. Cullen is a visionary and energy healer who is working with the Devic kingdom and healing others before most of us could read. Together, they've given us the wisdom from the stars trilogy, the award-winning Pleiadian Earth Energy Astrology, and a teaching that quietly turns everything upside down. They say we've been organizing our entire lives around the wrong thing, around time, and that the new reality begins the moment we start living by energy instead. So I have so much want to explore all of this with them. Please join me in welcoming Pia Orleane and Cullen Baird Smith. Welcome to the Reality Revolution.
Thank you, Brian. We're happy to be here to speak with you.
Thank you so much.
And your audience. We're really happy that we can share what we have to share.
Since this is our first time on the Reality Revolution, I would like for people in my group that maybe don't know who you are, that I'm sure you've had to tell this story many times, but just want to get your origin story. So just how it kind of started, how you guys connected. Tell us the story of where this came about.
Well, we had already, as you just read, been talking to different voices from other kingdoms since childhood. So it was no surprise that we were contacted, but it was a bit of surprise when they started asking us could we bring their message to the public. So we were contacted on Cullen's birthday by a shortwave radio turning itself on in our home exactly at the hour and minute of Cullen's birth. And we thought, that's odd. Got up and turned it off. For the next few days, it turned itself on at exactly the same time. We plugged it into different outlets. We unplugged it completely. And when they still came through, we got up and stood in front of the radio and said, okay, who are you? What can we do for you? We're here to help.
So that went on for a number of weeks. And we sat and waited exactly at my birth time, day after day. They kept turning the radio on. We'd unplug it, as Pia said. After maybe a month of this, we finally started getting telepathic messages from them. They would tell us things about binary numbers, space travel, future medicine. They were bombarding us, and I mean bombarding in a good way. They were giving us all of this information.
But they did build up to it slowly. When we finally said, who are you? They introduced themselves and said, we are from the stars. We want to help you evolve. And we said, what is your name? And they said, you can't pronounce it. And we said, give us an approximation. And they said, Larkma. And then we said, and who are you? And they said, we are one of six and six of one, here to help humanity evolve. So we were receiving these messages telepathically, simultaneously. Cullen would say, I just heard this. And I would say, it's exactly what I heard. And then I would say, I just heard this. And he would say, me too. So they built up to all this, lots of information they were giving us. By a month, we couldn't keep up with it. So we started recording it. And those recordings turned to a series of books, a request for public presentations, and here we are now.
Amazing. And so, as a sort of like historian of channeling, I personally loved channeling from Seth to the Law of One. There's been so many different, incredible channelers, and they're so different in the way that they respond to questions. The way that Bashar can answer questions is different than the way that some angels. They're restricted. There's like a sort of restriction. They can only say certain things. They're following like a law, right? But then other entities have more freedom, and that they're willing to go deeper on issues that are harder to understand. So I was wondering, tell us about the nature of the channeling. What was coming through that may surprise us a little bit?
Well, first of all, that's a great question, because there are so many humans channeling these days.
Yeah.
Any of us who are at a certain age followed, as you just described, many channelers back 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And what Larkma is interested in is talking about and answering questions from any respect. They love questions. They love sharing. What they do is they have a conversation. One of the reasons we and they don't like the word channeling anymore is because channeling often was just information coming through an energy, through a human, no questions, no banter, no nothing, just wisdom or information.
What your listeners may be interested in that would surprise them is that Larkma always tells everybody, don't believe us, trust in your own heart. We're here to share our perspective and empower you to find the truth within yourself. And that's a very different perspective than what most channelers bring forward, which is why they call it synchronization. It's just a conversation. They want to know what we need to know and how they can give us a perspective to help us grow.
And the end of this answering of your question, I think, is really important. They say, we Pleiadians learn as much from you humans as you're learning from us. And we really like that, because there's no hierarchy. There's no teacher, pupil. There's no division between, we are actually the same. And for us, that's a great way of understanding how this communication goes back and forth.
Right. Absolutely. And so it's interesting when you start to understand and come to grips with the life that you suddenly are living, which may be quite different than what you had experienced before. And so I'm sure that some of what you have learned has been amazing. Tell us what they've shared with you about their planet, their world, their consciousness, their existence as it is opposed to you.
Well, first of all, they don't have a linear language. In fact, nothing in their world is linear. They speak in musical and mathematical tones. They use the libraries of both of our minds to be able to bring forth the translation into English. But they operate from a place of unity. The one of six and six of one have a destination of being here on Earth and a purpose of helping humanity evolve. So they don't have an order that each of them speaks about, but they have a compilation of a unified perspective of this is what we're here to do. And they say that where they're from, everyone operates that way. It's not the separation we experience here on Earth.
There's no duality in their environment. They simply live within a consciousness that's egalitarian, that's absolutely a unified community orientation. They don't have a hierarchy that says you will act like this, you will do this. They have nothing like that, like we do here on Earth. So it's a much freer, it's a much more organic way of being. And to answer your question more fully, they are master shapeshifters. They can become anything they wish to become.
Energy has intelligence, and it can go into any form they direct it.
In their society, they're not physical.
Right.
They can choose to be physical. They can show themselves. We could give you many examples of, in the decades we've been working with them, how they've shown up to us in the most beautiful, interesting, or bizarre physical apparitions.
Right.
I mean, they're amazing. So what we're trying to explain is they live in a much freer, much more unified sense than we do here as humans on this planet.
I think one of the other key differences is that everything they do comes from love. It comes from the heart space. And they talk about here on Earth how we're totally focused on the mental. And they said the mind can help create your reality, but it has to be led by the heart, has to be led by love. And that's one thing they're trying to help humans with, is to be able to have the heart create the reality we want, not what we think in our head without heart connection. So heart's really important to them.
Every society from different planetary environments has a general basis of what their specific gifts and talents are. And the Pleiadians, as Pia just said, come absolutely from heart. Their message to humanity, their support for humanity, is all about love. That's their way of helping us.
I've always wondered when this was and how much that this had happened, because two people, the energy that you have, especially two people that can have a sort of energy exchange, can work almost as a transformer, so that when you're bringing in a channeling, you can handle the higher amount of energy. You can, and if you see it in the metaphysical, it makes more sense that you have groupings that come together and sort of, they become exponential with their energy when they come together, which allows for more of a different sort of light meaning information to come through. So I wanted to know about your perspective of that, and how that the energy of having two people in a synchronization can really bring in more information.
What I can say about that, Brian, is that we always feel completely uplifted when their energy comes through. It takes us into a completely different frequency. We have been ill with a virus or something, and we had a professional appointment, and we get up and do it anyway, and we feel totally great and not sick at all while we're doing our session. So they bring us into a higher vibration, no matter whether we're healthy or whether we're not feeling so good. Their presence and their frequency raises our frequency. And the people that we work with tell us that it also raises their frequency. Whether that's a group or an individual, it doesn't make any difference. The frequency goes up.
Frequency goes up. And so have you noticed anything from what they've taught you? It sounds like they're teaching about reality creation and the nature of time. Have you seen applying what they've taught you to any changes in your experience? Could you share with that?
Absolutely.
Completely.
Yeah.
They have taught us to what they call bending time. They like to say that time doesn't exist. It's a human construct here on this planet, something we have to deal with so that everything doesn't happen absolutely synchronistically at the same time. But when we first started working with them, and them asking us to do presentations, we would be driving or flying to places other than where we lived. And we would notice that it would take much shorter time span to get from where we lived to where we were traveling, either by car or plane, so that they could help us get there without utilizing any of our own energy or becoming tired because we were driving or flying.
And one of the things that makes that happen that they have taught us is when you're driving, don't look at how many miles. Every time you pass something on a road map or on a road sign or on your GPS, don't look at how many miles are left to go and how much time it is. Completely black that out from your awareness. Just see yourself on the journey. And we have gone 3-hour trips and gotten there in an hour and a half, things like that. So It absolutely is part of what they've taught us. Another really good thing they've taught us that's made a huge difference in our life is how to use emotions, because they define the feelings that we come here with as love, joy, trust, compassion, patience, kindness, generosity, gratitude. That's our natural feeling state. Emotions are the ones that make us uncomfortable: frustration, anger, jealousy, grief, all those things. Fear is the biggest one. And they have taught us that when you start feeling these uncomfortable places, this is a signal that you're out of balance yourself. And how you work with that is you allow yourself to feel it. Don't distract yourself. Don't try to explain it. Don't try to figure it out in your mind. Just feel it. And after you've allowed yourself to fully feel it, notice what you're thinking. What am I thinking about what I'm feeling? And you'll find a pattern. Either, why does she always do this? Or why does this always happen to me? Or I'll never get out of this. Some pattern is there. And then they say, ask the question consciously. Is this true, or could something else be true? And when you get that question answered, either you have one of two things to do. If it's true, change your situation. It's not working for you. If it could be something else that's true, change your perspective. You'll feel better. That's a big lesson they've taught us, and it works great for us.
Yeah, absolutely. No. One thing that I know that you had mentioned in the discussion is the nature of time. Something that I work on with my group, and I've done at my events, is creating a connection with your future self. And it becomes very real. This future self then becomes sort of a walk-in, or can then sort of merge with us, and we merge with the intelligence of the future self. It knows the best path that we can go forward. So I really want to know what maybe you have learned about that, because it sounds like that's kind of something that they cover.
Absolutely. We laughed when you brought that up, because we coined a phrase 20 odd years ago. It's really simple. Remembering who we are and becoming our future selves. I don't know if they gave it to us or we brought it to consciousness.
Your term. You got it from them, or you got it on your own.
But when you said future selves, that clicked in for us, something we've been involved with for decades. And it's extremely important to understand that it's past time for us to remember who we are. And when we remember who we are, that enables us to become our future selves.
And because there truly is no such thing as time, it's only our perspective, we can be our future selves in any given moment. And many of us will find ourselves stepping into that future self and feeling completely different. And then we lapse back into our old patterns, addictions, habits. So it's a process. Larkma is very fond of telling us it's a process.
Yeah, there's another aspect to this too, Brian. Deja vu, bleed through, recognition of parallel lives, not past lives. Larkma makes it very clear in their work with us humans that there are no past lives. Everything, because time doesn't exist, everything is a parallel life. And so in understanding that not only are we our future selves, but we're recognizing that we're moving towards being our future selves. And I think that's a really important distinction.
And we get glimpses. We could fill the whole show with experiences we've had. But just to give you a couple of examples, one day I was walking outside to take the trash, walked past our vehicle, and I looked, and our vehicle had me sitting in it, driving it. As I was walking by, right in the driver's seat, I saw myself, and I went, well, how can that be? And then I put the trash down, and I came back, and the image was gone. Another time, I was on one floor of the house doing something, and I walked by the living room, and Cullen was sitting in a chair. And I said something to him, and he didn't respond. And I said, Cullen? And he answered me from the basement. So he was down there, but I was seeing him up here. Merging moments.
So there's more
parallel lives are happening.
Yes.
There's more connection with our future selves than the average person at this point understands. We can move into that arena. We can move into that environment whenever we want, whether whether we're in a meditative state, whether we're in a transcendent state, it doesn't matter what we're doing, but in any state that we're in, we can be connected to and are connected to our future selves. It's that simple.
It's a game changer. It's lightning in a bottle. I feel like that I'm going to spend the rest of my life teaching people how to connect to their future self. It's an expansion of those teachings that we had in, all the way to Neville Goddard and Napoleon Hill and the law of attraction, but on a larger scale, truly understanding there's a retrocausality in play, sort of, and because there is no future. Like, just this is the same as there is no past life. Those are all parallel. The future self is parallel, and it's hard for people to fathom that. I think we are going to fathom that for sure. If the process, my friend Lewis, who's on in our group, just asked if the process of becoming our future selves is actually an act of remembering who we already are on a cosmic scale. What is the final illusion we must drop from our childhood conditioning to fully allow that ancient future mastery to operate through our physical bodies right now?
Great question.
The second book in the Wisdom from the Stars trilogy is called Remembering Who We Are. And in the back of it, Larkma presents 10 choices. So this thing that we're looking for, we have to go through 10 choices. Choose love, choose trust. There's all kinds of descriptions of what we have to choose. But before we can make those choices, we have to clear out trauma, addictions. And by addictions, I don't just mean alcohol and drugs. Addictions can be to TV, to shopping, to sex. It can be to anything. Addictions have to be cleared out. Habits that are habitual have to be cleared out because they keep us in a loop. So we have to be totally open and clear to reach that final place you're talking about.
And one of the biggest issues in humanity, probably forever, but especially right now with the energies that are coming in, is we have to let go of belief systems that were never true. We've been fed from all kinds of agencies, all kinds of authorities, whether it's medical, academic, religion, government. We have been fed belief systems out of control that were never true. And we need, in order to answer that question from one of your members, is we need to step out of the belief systems that never helped us. We never resonated with them, but we were told, you must conform to these rules, regulations. And by stepping away from all of this old stuff, all of these old paradigms, that allows us the freedom to be in a new space, a new paradigm. And that is what can open us up to the understanding of we're actually our future selves all of the time.
Claudia asks, are dreams part of being a future self?
Dreams come, as a psychologist, I can tell you that dreams come in multiple levels. A lot of dreams are simply processing dreams that humans do to process their day. That's not really part of the parallel reality. At the next level up, we have parallel reality things where we begin to merge in other realities and say, this is part of me here. I recognize a lesson. I recognize something I need to let go of. I recognize a path to take. And the ultimate one is not really a dream at all. And you may think you're dreaming, but you're actually astral traveling, and you're getting insights into potential futures that can occur if you don't make this choice or that choice. So there's pretty much 3 levels of dreams. I used to be part of a dream club in my PhD program that is really with Stanley Krippner, who is the premier expert on dreaming. And I learned a lot, and he and the group learned a lot from what I knew. So it's something that we can all explore more deeply.
The more we open up to other possibilities, other realities, whether that's speaking of our future selves or just our evolutionary process, and it is a process. Everything we're going through is a process. It's not going to end tomorrow. It didn't start yesterday. It's a process that's ongoing. And when we develop more thoroughly as the whole and complete humans that we are, which encompasses our future selves, the dream state also ramps up. It also becomes more evolutionary in itself, and it is able to help us with messages, metaphors, clues that when maybe we weren't as awake as we are now, they wouldn't have made sense, but now they're there to help us evolve, to help us grow.
Someone asked, how did the two of you start departing from those old paradigms, those old beliefs? What process did you both go through that can maybe help us? Yeah.
Let me start by saying it was quite a trip to be a clinical psychologist and go in and tell my colleagues that I was hearing voices. that was a step right there. But I have to say I was very fortunate because I was well respected in my community, and they said, tell us more. And we went to the university where I graduated and presented Larkma to a group of colleagues there at the university. And one of the people at the university said, I'm going to test them. We said, okay. And he said, okay, start bringing forth Larkma. And we did. And he said, I lost something about 6 months ago. I can't find it. What is it and where is it? And Larkma said, go in the room in the back, look in your green sweater, it's in your pocket. He departed. He came back and he said, these keys have been missing for 6 months. From there, we were written up in a scientific journal. So we've had the great fortune of being recognized and accepted wherever we brought forth this information. That gives credibility. We're not just somebody who took a channeling class or decided, oh, I'm going to do this and start. So the credibility helped us to go more deeply into the work.
I would like to answer that question in a more historic way, if I may. Pia and I had very unusual childhoods. We were what we would call awakened at birth. We didn't go through the forgetting process. When we were small children, we were visited by beings from other realms, what people call the extraterrestrial world. Larkma doesn't like the term ET. They think it's demeaning. They would prefer to be called beings from another realm, interstellar beings. They like softer, more descriptive terms than just calling them or others ETs. But
I mean, I agree. That's why I don't refer to them as ETs anymore. I don't
really respect that in you, definitely.
Yeah.
But to answer this question more thoroughly, we were involved with the David Kingdom. We were involved with fairies. We were involved with even beings from the inner earth. We were involved with space societies as small children. So to answer the question as thoroughly as I can quickly, we've never been what we would call normal. We've always been on the edge, believing in things. And there's a funny story that people have in all cultures. Children often have what are called invisible friends. Imaginary friends. Well, children, before they become socialized by the age of 5 or 6, are often connected to other realms. It's natural. It's part of their imaginary and real experience. Parents and grandparents often tell children, well, you'll grow out of it. It's okay. You won't need your invisible friends, your imaginary friends anymore. Well, for Pia and I, we never left those special beings.
Nor did we stop talking about the people that we saw, the angels that came in, the fairies that we saw. We never stopped talking about it. So people could either accept it and accept us, or they could say, you're weird and walk away. So it wasn't much of a transition.
So it has been said that there's a black sheep in every family. There's always one child who's different than the rest of the other children or the parents or the grandparents. We have decided that it's time to change the black sheep saying to Chartreuse sheep.
We're the colorful ones.
We're the colorful ones. We're the ones different. So there are many of us who have been Chartreuse sheep from childhood, but many people close it down when they begin to mature because they're afraid of it. They don't understand it any longer.
Or they can't deal with the judgment around it.
Right. Well, Margaret asks, Larkmus warned us about using AI. It was a strong warning of not using AI because it deemed as giving our power away. What is the consequence of using AI if we don't heed the warning?
Well, that's a pretty big and deep question.
Hmm.
We have a very definite stance on this.
If we use AI, AI
Hmm.
is a data collector. So it takes everything away from us and then it presents it factually. It
Hmm.
doesn't have any heart in it. It doesn't have any consciousness. It just reproduces the facts. So it can put together something that people say, oh, it helped me with a creative project. But all it has done is collected data from various sources and put it together. So we're surrendering our creative ability, our responsibility for our own choices, and our power. So they've given the warning because other cultures that they have helped have been demolished because the humans surrendered their responsibility and AI took over. We don't want to lose humanity.
If we use a historic example of this, Atlantis was a highly developed culture. I was there. I have absolute memory of who I was, where I was, and an AI-like agency tried to persuade the science of that era to go in the direction that we're going in now in the 21st century on Earth. This is what I call runaway science, where science believes, and I mean believes, underlined and asterisked, that they can go anywhere without any governance or without any understanding that what they do today may have consequences that they didn't understand that could be detrimental in the future. So our stance on AI is that it takes the responsibility away from individuals, as Pia said, creatively, intelligently, and the list go. I have a huge cheat sheet list. I don't know if it's appropriate to list it right now or not, time-wise, but there are many things that AI is taking humanity towards that are not helpful.
We lose our creative ability, as I just said, but we also lose our desire, our passion to be able to participate in life because it's just easier to give it to somebody else. And then we're left empty like a shell. So
Great point.
holding
Yeah.
up our humanity is a priority for us.
Particularly for those who have not awakened, that it slows down the awakening process. For
Yeah.
those who haven't awakened yet, that's my biggest concern, right?
Absolutely. Brian, that is the biggest trick that AI is bringing to the surface that people do not understand. Thank you for saying that. That is extremely important.
And you can answer the question also. Was it Margaret who asked the question?
Yes.
Margaret, there is an article that we wrote about this on our website under articles in New Dawn magazine about consciousness and AI called Frequency Wars. And you can find that on our website.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Just how does the channeling process go for you? Are you unconscious? How long does it take for you to get in, or the synchronization process? Sorry for me to misspeak, but how does
Um,
that usually explain? Give us a highlight of how it works for you.
Well, we're what is known as conscious channels.
That means that we remember and are aware of everything that goes on. We're not trance channels where somebody overtakes us. We're conscious. So it only takes a few moments to be able to join our hands together and allow the information to come through. Sometimes we call to Larkma and say, we'd like to talk with you, please. They answer almost instantly. Sometimes they give us what we call a nudge, and we say, okay, let me put this hot pot down. We'll be right there. And we talk to them. So it works both ways.
The only time there's a pause between if we wish to speak with them and we make it known to them, if they don't show up pretty immediately, they will come in a minute or two or 5 minutes and they'll say, we're so sorry, but we were keeping somebody's thumb off a nuclear button and that was more important than talking to you at that moment.
Wow.
And that's the only thing that they will do to change us. Other than that, they say you're responsible for saving yourselves. We're not coming down in spaceships and picking you up. You humans have made this mess, so you humans have to clean it up. We're here to support you figure out how to do that.
But it's our responsibility
Yeah,
to do
totally.
that. The only thing that cosmic or universal law allows other energies outside of Earth is to keep us from blowing ourselves up with nuclear proliferation or attacks. Other than that, because this is a planet of free will and choice, as Pia just stated, they are hands off. We cannot ask them, can you give us lottery numbers, please? Or
Right.
can you do this? Can you do that? They laugh and say, we're so sorry, but that's up to you.
Well, it makes sense. But there's something unique about the nuclear explosion that they are particularly concerned about. Throughout all the channelings, I think something else is being destroyed in the metaphysical realm, beyond, and there's real loss, real tragedy that comes in the quantum, in those other realms that I sense from those beings that there's a lot more going on. It's much more dangerous than we understand.
Thank you for understanding that, Brian. Thank you for saying it the way you did.
And you just mentioned a quantum connection. If we were to blow ourselves up, the ramifications of that would ripple out through the entire universe.
That's exactly what you're talking
it's
about.
It's not just our lives here and the precious earth that we live on. It would have a ramification of a wave that would hurt and be harmful to other societies, other energies all around. So
Quantum effect, as you said.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and so clearly some of these beings that we're interacting with come from our future, and they're not actually from outside of this world. They're part of this world from our future. What do you think about that?
I think it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
When we communicate with inner earth beings, which we do regularly, they tell us that they have been on the surface of this planet many times, and cataclysms, scientific mistakes, other situations that have repeatedly, and I mean repeatedly, ruined the atmosphere or the living conditions on the outer edge of this planet, this globe that we live on. They went inside to protect themselves, and they are actually what some of us would call part of the future beings who were here, but they realized in order to save their civilization, they had to go inward. And I mean that in multiple ways, not only inward spiritually, but inward into the center of the earth. And so it's completely known to a number of us that there are future beings inside the earth, and there are future beings walking on the surface of the earth at the same time.
But let me make a distinction here. So many people think that Pleiadians are walking around, they're tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. That is a completely fabricated perspective that people have picked up. Larkma tells us very clearly that Pleiadians walked the earth at the same time with humans during Christ's time, during the Mayan time, with the Dogon people, with the Cherokee, multiple times trying to raise us up and teach us what we're capable of. Every single time without exception, the community they were working with said, you must be gods, we can't do that. And it became a religion. So therefore, they refused to intermingle with us in a form that resembles humans at this time. This is why they come through us with various shapes and energies to show us what's possible and help us to empower ourselves to be like they are, because they've tried it other ways and it's never worked.
So at this time, it's only an energetic connection. It's not a physical connection.
So let's talk to him. I'm so excited to talk to him, and I'm sure we have people in the group that'll ask questions. I have questions. So whenever you're ready, we're open and excited to speak with them.
Okay, joining hands. Hello, dear ones. We are Larkma, please give us your heart song. That is, how you call yourself, your name, in your own voice.
Brian.
Brian, we are pleased to be with you and your group, and we ask anyone who wishes a question to give us your heart song so that we can resonate with your energy and answer it specifically. Please go ahead.
I would ask if you could just open up with anything that you, before I ask specific questions, if you have anything that comes to you that you'd like to share with this group in particular and all those people that are listening to begin with.
We are pleased to do so. We are quite pleased with your focus upon the future selves that you are becoming and recognizing with our help and others that you can be that in any given moment. We are quite pleased that you recognize the things that are available to you, like quantum consciousness, rather than a limited third-dimensional perspective. We're quite pleased that you're interested in expanding from a spiritual perspective and that you recognize and honor that heart must be connected to mind in order for you to truly be who you really are. Our opening statement to you would be, thank you for this opportunity, and we open in love to whatever you would like to know from our perspective. But we always tell everyone, don't believe us, trust in your heart. Your heart has all the answers. We will share our perspective, but your heart will resonate with it, and then you will know this is true. It is familiar to me.
As I create meditations for my group, I would like your guidance on the most effective way for me to facilitate or become a catalyst for people to connect to their future self in a powerful and significant way that sticks for a long period of time. Can you give me your guidance in how I can effectively do that?
Well, our perspective may be slightly different than what you're doing now, but we're happy to share it.
Mm-hmm.
We consider meditation only occurring in silence, not something that is guided. So we would say to do what you're doing in a more functional way, introduce it as a contemplation, a quiet guided contemplation as an opening to meditation, and then allow space for the silence and let them descend into the silence through what you have guided them through as an opening. Does that make sense to you?
Very much so. It appears that there are many different future selves that I can access from different futures. How
Absolutely.
can I best focus on the greatest possible timeline for my future?
Well, the energy of 13 is supremely important in that, because the energy of 13 is where you integrate all aspects of each of these parts of you and bring them into one. When you focus upon that and integrate them together, you reach the point where you can be your future self, because you can access any dimension, any personality, any goal, anything you want to accomplish at any moment you wish. So it's about becoming multidimensional, not moving to the next level. We're also trying to help people understand that you've been living in what you perceive as hierarchy, which is linear progression. You go from grade 1 to grade 12 in school. You graduate, and then you go to the next thing and the next and the next. And many of your religions have taught you that you're down here on lowly earth, and when you get to go to the next grade, you get to go to heaven or something similar to that. Or when you ascend, you get to go to a better place. We're here to tell you that that place is within you now, and you create it and access it by integrating all of who you are. And that is the point it's most important for you to reach what you call the finalization or most important aspect of yourself. That is the multidimensional aspect that integrates all of who you are. Is that clear?
Very much so. Thank you for that.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
can you share some very practical tips to connect to future selves that you feel align for this community of future self integrators?
Wonderful question. One thing they would suggest is to place a bowl of water by your bed at night, because water is the greatest communicator on this planet. And that way you can invite in, bring to me what I need to know, and let it communicate into the water that you are. That's a very simple third dimensional step. Another thing is to sit in quiet after you have meditated. Pick up a pen or pencil and paper and just write whatever comes to you and say, I'm not going to channel it through my mind. I'm just going to write whatever comes. After you've written it, put it away. Don't look at it for 3 days. And when you look at it, you'll be surprised that, oh, I didn't know I knew that. Oh, someone from a different realm is trying to help me. That will open up yourself to more integration with your future self as well as other beings from light who are here to help you. Those are 2 steps. We would also suggest that you absolutely learn to work with your emotions and clear out all traumas and addictive patterns and beliefs that no longer serve you. These are very, very important steps. And of course, there are the 10 choices that Cullen and Pia mentioned earlier that you must work through to reach the point where you are fully integrated and your future self aligns with who you intend to become.
How can we positively influence people and create peace in the world as we become this expanded version of ourselves?
Well, first of all, you are an influence by everything that you do, either a positive or a negative influence. If you walk into a store in a grumpy mood, everybody around you can feel it. If you smile and touch people and smile at people and say hello, the light from within you shines out, and you're affecting and impacting others in that way. In other words, you teach by example. If you choose to do no harm in your thoughts and your actions and what you eat and everything that you would do, you are becoming a shining example that radiates out at a quantum level. One reason there's so much war on this planet is because you have compartmentalized the idea that do no harm means only and applies only to humans, not to everything else. And that compartmentalization allows war to continue. So there are many things that you can do. Also, the idea of Enlakesh, which is the Mayan word for I am another yourself, is extremely important because then you influence others by looking at them, allowing your light to shine, and becoming a mirror for who they can be. In other words, you recognize we are the same. There is acceptance without judgment. All of these things are there to help you influence others. But another key component most people don't realize is that it is not your responsibility to change anyone. Everyone on this planet of choice has the responsibility to change themselves if they choose. Your job is to be the beacon of light. Your job is to set the example. Your job is to demonstrate how it's done. And that's what impacts and affects and helps others to find their way on the way of love, the path of light.
Claudia asks, do we drink the water or keep it by the bed until it evaporates?
Keep it by the bed and change it every day. Let it be pure water, not from the tap. Water is a communicator. Anytime you are washing your car, doing the dishes, taking a shower, open to the fact that you can get insights and intuition while you're in the water. Just having it by your bed when you're in a sleeping or resting state enhances it more because you're not thinking. You're allowing yourself to be calm and receptive.
Luis asks, joy is not an emotion, but joy is a state of high velocity wave frequency. Help us anchor to these waves.
Get rid of the fear. Joy and love are the opposites of fear. Anything that is coming from fear is something that keeps you separated from love and joy. When you are able to experience unconditional love without judgment and pure acceptance of whatever is, then joy arises naturally, and you don't have to anchor it, you become it.
Can you give me advice how I can overcome my fears?
That would require a personal session because we cannot look into specifically what's going on within you. We do this every day at our work with Pia and Cullen. We have them connect with you, and then we walk you through how to empower yourself to get rid of the fears. We don't do
If
this publicly because sometimes these things reveal things you're unaware of or in a direction you did not expect. This is why we require it to be in a private session.
Now, if I was to and understand a fear. And I've decided I want to get rid of this fear. Is there a process that you advise on releasing fears?
Yes. To do it on your own would be the same thing that Pia explained earlier about going through feeling what you're feeling, notice what you're thinking, ask the question what else could be true, and then take your power by either changing the situation or changing your perspective. That's doing it with your own work. If you want help, you have a personal session with us, which, by the way, is confidential. In these sessions, we turn Pia and Cullen off so they cannot hear what we're discussing with you. In these sessions, we provide Pleiadian assistance to help you move through the fear, eradicate it from your system by moving the energetic block, which most people don't understand. Most people think it comes from whatever they've figured out in their mind or what they've emotionally worked through, but the energy may still be within them. We help you with a specific exercise to remove the energetic block, and then you can move forward on your own, under your own empowerment.
Veronica asks, I feel a lot of trauma from World War II from my parents. Can this prevent me from opening my third eye without having resolved these traumas if time doesn't exist and everything is happening at the same time?
We would answer that by saying the concept of ancestral trauma is an illusion. If you have trauma from your parents and what they experienced, it's something you picked up in the energy field situationally, not something that came through your genetics. So you have the power within you to say that was them, not me, and you absolutely can clear that. We can help with that when we do personal sessions, but you can do it on your own by the recognition that ancestral trauma is, or ancestral lineage, is something that is structured in your belief system in the third dimensional linear concepts of hierarchy, and it does not exist in your genetic line. Genetics only present you with a pathway of possibilities. Situation helps you make the choices of which pathway you take.
Can you advise on the best method if I want to receive downloads from parallel selves? What is the best way for me to interact or entangle myself with those parallel selves and to receive downloads of information from them?
Well, the suggestions we've made about clearing trauma open you up to be more receptive. Oftentimes, trauma or fear keeps you in a state of guardedness where you cannot let something in that is unfamiliar. And a parallel life will be unfamiliar to you because your familiarity exists in the third dimension. So when you clear out anything that makes you fearful, it automatically opens your heart to be able to receive the unfamiliar so that you can say, that's interesting. Let me integrate that. And then it becomes a part of you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Margaret asks if you could enlighten us on how humans use and misuse crystals and how we can make changes to show respect to our crystal friends.
One of the greatest questions that the inner earth people are interested in. So we will share with you the inner earth viewpoint from our friend Garth. We will tell you that the inner earth people say crystals have consciousness. And the first step is to recognize that they are consciousness. Don't just walk into a rock shop and pick up a crystal because it's pretty. Stop and hold it in your hand, talk to it, and say, would you like to go with me? It will give you a yes or a no. You can body test it if you don't receive a message in your mind. Then when you have the crystal, don't just use it for your own benefit. Ask, would you like to help me with this healing? Would you like to help me feel safer? Would you like to help me evolve? Ask it what it offers. That's a very basic abuse of crystals that's happening in the modern New Age community. Another way is to recognize that crystals are being cut and shaped into all kinds of electronics without their permission. You have been cutting and misusing crystals since you created your first watches, an illusion of time that was not supported by the inner earth kingdom. And you have enhanced that even more by the crystals that are used in your technology. Stepping away from your what we call archaic technology that you think is very futuristic, stepping away from that would be allowing the true advanced technology of light to come to you through crystals. We, from the Pleiadian Kingdom and all the others in the light, we don't use ships that are powered with AI or crystals or anything else. We use crystal intelligence that comes from light, and therefore we can say, I'd like to go here, now, and the light carries us without engines, without machinery, and without something that's been carved up and made into something for human use. These are many of the ways that crystals are abused. Atlantis fell because of misuse of crystals. They were being used in the spiritual community in a quite wonderful way, helping people evolve because people were aware that crystals had consciousness and that you could communicate with them. And then a couple of scientists got the bright idea that they could use it in a different way, and they stopped listening to the crystals. And what happened at Atlantis? It blew up and took Lemuria with it. So that's the repercussion of continuing to use crystals inappropriately. We hope that helps.
If we verify the consciousness and choice of the crystal, and we follow your advice, is there a particular crystal that is effective, for instance, for protection that you would advise?
That is different for every single one of you, because the greatest protection is the trust you carry in your own heart. And various crystals can speak to you and say, you're still dealing with fear. Perhaps you need this, or you're still dealing with that. Perhaps you need this. It is an individual thing.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to live in your consciousness? Can you share what it's like from your first person perspective so that we can share and understand you and how you live?
It's about being able to hear, feel, be aware of every single thought in our whole community, and we mean the community of living beings, all consciousness. We can tune our frequency to focus upon one particular conversation, like this one. But all of us who are involved in this conversation have the same answers coming from within the conversation. We can also broaden our listening. Do we hear someone in another country is angry and a leader is about to put a finger on the atomic bomb? Or someone in another solar system is doing something and they need our assistance. We can be anywhere and everywhere at once simultaneously. That's what it's like where we're from. Also, there is no fear where we are from. We experience everything as just an experience, something we're trying to help humans understand. If you see it as just an experience, then you recognize that all experiences change. They change moment by moment by moment, and each choice you make in the present dictates what the next moment will bring you. So recognizing that helps us to always be involved in whatever energy is present with singular focus upon what needs to happen and how we can assist, using love as the guiding energy.
Can you tell us about what your peoples, or where you in particular, came from when you went through the same level of evolution that we are going through on Earth now, inhabited in third density bodies? How did you make the transition into the next level of consciousness? Can you give us guidance from your experience?
It was a process, just as you are going through a process, but we did not have the great gift that you have of emotions. We had to go through it in a different way of understanding differently than you understand. The greatest thing we can tell you is not to model yourself after us on how we received information and where we are now, but model yourself on the perspective we share with you about how to use the tool that you have that was not available to us. It took us much longer to be able to move through what we had to change in our perspective. But once we grasped what needed to change, it was instantaneous because we are a unified culture coming from love. You are a very separated culture, coming basically from fear. And fear separates you on every level. You even divide mind and heart. You divide yourself from each other. You divide yourself from countries and religions and color, all kinds of things. So with that in mind, the greatest tool we could suggest is use your emotions to help ask what else could be true, and then make higher choices. And then your process will accelerate as ours did.
Luis asks, Bashar describes the Essassani realm as having no artificial buildings, only nature and conscious beings. He is revealing the ultimate trajectory of a society that is fully integrated. So, but Bashar is the so what nature is the ultimate technology and the ultimate connector to all. Is that correct?
Well, Bashar is describing what we call the new earth. Doesn't matter what name you give it, but yes, it is where love is the governing energy, light is the force that guides you, and everything comes through what nature decrees. Did you know that on your planet there used to be a peaceful kingdom? The Darwinian perspective from quote, unquote, science is not the truth. Animals did not kill for food, and humans said, oh, we need to do that too. It's the other way around. Certain things were implanted on your planet to make you fearful, and you started killing for food because you were afraid you could not find enough. And when that happened, the animals followed suit. We're asking your human community to stop killing so that the animals can return to a peaceful kingdom. The new earth, which you have just asked about, has no killing whatsoever because everything is unified. If you were to kill an animal, for instance, you would die with it.
Can you help in me to understand how to use my dreams to shift into different realities?
Well, we've answered that from multiple perspectives. Perhaps we could be of more assistance in a private session where we can look at what blocks you. We cannot answer generally any more than we have already spoken about this.
Okay. When people look out into the world right now and watch the news, it feels like we're devolving. We're not moving into higher realms of energy, that we're not ascending. Can you help us to understand and sort of translate what's happening in the world to our own spiritual process?
Certainly. The collective of humanity is indeed devolving. Why? Because the collective of humanity has followed orders and what Cullen calls bad training for a very long time, believing that religion is supreme, believing that God is supreme, believing that the government will take care of you, believing that doctors know everything and you have no healing abilities when yourself. In other words, you have followed bad training and given over your choice and your responsibility to others for a very long time. Now you can see the effect of that because if you look around you, you can see that a government says, we have to stop so-and-so from happening. We're starting a war. And the people of the country go, yes, let's do that. So people are still following orders. So we would suggest to you that what you need to do is recognize that you're going through the lowest level humanity has ever been. If you're familiar with the Yuga cycles of Indian philosophy, you would know that there are 26,000 year periods where humanity goes through evolutionary upgrades and devolutionary downgrades. You've been at the highest places and you've descended into the lowest place. The end of the lowest place was the Kali Yuga, which ended in what you call the Gregorian March of 2025. We call the spring equinox of 2025. And from then forward, for the next while, you're in a purification process. We also speak about the Great Split, and that is because it's a planet of choice. Those who choose to evolve at a higher and faster rate quickly, and those who choose to evolve much more slowly. In this Great Split, you're seeing the devolution continue with those who do not wish to go through the purification process, but instead attached to whatever is being shared by, this is the newest upgrade, this is what you have to do next, and they give over their sovereignty to follow what they're being told. These will not go with the new earth immediately. Those who are choosing the higher path, which is the ascension path, are choosing light, love, unity, graciousness, patience, all the higher attributes that you hold in your heart, and being able to empower yourself to let your intuition and your heart lead you instead of following outside guidance. In other words, in the Great Split, those of you who are doing these things are listening to guidance from within. Those who are doing the other are listening to guidance from without. So you will continue to see here in duality those who are devolving, and those who are awakening and coming into higher and higher frequencies. Everyone gets to the same point eventually. The question is, do you want to go now, or do you want to go in thousands of years? Continue giving away your responsibility and your choice. You won't go to the new earth immediately. Continue your path of cleansing, purification, and choice, and you will ascend fairly quickly in this purification process.
For somebody that is just starting on this path and they've lived a long life, they can still quickly move into the new earth energy. Can you please explain how that person can do that?
It is not governed by how old you are in chronological age. It is governed by the choices that you make now. There's no time limit on that. It's just that you can move through the process slowly by resisting and saying, no, I've already done that. I'm not going to do that again. Or, no, I'm not going to try it this way. I'm going to follow what they tell me to do. Or whether you're going to surrender into, I'm willing to try the unfamiliar. I'm willing to open my heart. I'm willing to be non-judgmental. That's the pathway. It's not based on chronological time, and it doesn't matter if you've just awakened. We tell people, you've all made the choice long ago. You made the choice point at a time when we told humanity, maybe 20 years ago, the choice point is being made now. You made it that time. And if you're only awakening to it now, it's like you've been asleep for the last 20 years. And now you go, oh, I remember. I made that choice. I'm going to ascend. I won't do this or that anymore. I'm choosing the higher frequency. That's one way to answer this particular question.
Is there a best first path that if I'm just beginning on this journey and I've made it my intention to move into the love, into the light, into the shift, what's the first thing that you would recommend that I do?
It cannot be by intention alone. It has to also be by actions. We would say, take a look at your choices. We have 3 principles that we say are the leading principles. The first one we spoke of is Enlakesh. I am another yourself. Stop judging others and begin to accept they are who they are. Either they've made poor choices and you can see it with discernment, or they're making good choices and you can see it with discernment. But don't judge them. That's step number 1, Enlakesh. I am another yourself, and each person has the right to make their own choices. Step number 2 we've spoken about also, the principle of Ahimsa. Do no harm. Look at your diet. Are you killing for your food? Or are you taking the gifts from the plant kingdom that provide everything you need? Are you being emotional with your words and blasting other people with your frustration? Or are you taking a breath and saying, how can I say this kindly? Are you doing things in your thoughts that say, I'm not a very good person, or I'm afraid I'm not going to make it, or I'm unlovable or unworthy, causing harm to yourself? Ahimsa means do no harm to anyone or anything, including yourself, because what you do to yourself and others ripples out. And the third principle is highest good for all. Stop before you make any choice and think, how is this going to affect everyone and everything? And then ask, is this for the highest good of all, not just my own personal gain or what I believe to be true? Allow those 3 principles to guide you, and you'll do very well. And we're always available to help anyone who wants specific assistance.
Can you help me in facilitating instantaneous healing through the light that we have available to us in this realm? What is the best method for us to utilize the light in order to heal?
You have to recognize that you have 50% choice in what happens to you, and you have to accept the other 50% that comes to you. The universe gives you 50%. Right now, in your 3rd dimensional world, you're receiving an excess amount of radiation from 5G satellites and geochemical engineering. That's something you don't really want, but you're being impacted by it. That's 50%. You also have within the 50% outside of you, the sun sending in more light to activate the healings in your cells than you have within your conscious awareness. That's part of the 50% too. The other 50% is what you do with that. Do you follow the principles of do no harm? And do you make conscious choices in the higher frequencies? Do you open to unfamiliar paths and say, I'm willing to try this, even if nothing else has worked? This will allow you to access possibilities for healing that come your way. Or do you shut down and say, I've tried everything, nothing works, and close yourself off? The healing comes when you open to the possibilities that are always coming moment by moment, and you accept the things that you're not in control of. And by the way, speaking out against the mid 5G, 6G satellites that are proposed to be launched into your planet by next year would be a very good 50% of your personal responsibility to do. When you do everything 100% of your 50%, you have more accessibility to healing within yourself. When you don't do everything and you're 50%, you may be impacted more fully. And you must accept that sometimes circumstances are outside of your control. And remember the principle, everything changes. That will change too.
What is the best way for me to facilitate the future self integration over a longer period so that the future self can become me in this moment, that I can be my future self? What is the best way to maintain over a long progression that consistent state as our chosen future self?
That's a very simple answer. Be your future self in each present moment. Don't be thinking about what it'll look like tomorrow or in 5 or 10 years. Be your future self in every present conscious moment. That will extend it to what you're asking, because each present moment creates the next. If you find yourself stepping out of the future self you've had a glimpse of, simply go back to your breath, breathe in, breathe out. Remember, you're on a planet of duality. Do not beat yourself up. Just say, I'm going to make another choice in the next moment, and return to your heart and let your heart guide you. Doing this will return you to more and more glimpses of your future self.
Somebody's asking in the group, can you explain how our unresolved emotions and traumas, thoughts can become health issues and how we can become more aware of them to heal ourselves?
The physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual are all connected together. If you are continually in an emotional state because you don't like what the universe is bringing to you, or you're unhappy with yourself, feel unloved, unworthy, doesn't matter whether you're angry at something external, grieving something external, unhappy with yourself on the internal, doesn't matter what you are and what you've done. If you want to clear this, you have to absolutely be open to embracing what is unfamiliar and saying, I'm ready to accept a higher vibration. That's a very important step. Does this start you on that pathway, or is there more?
Absolutely, it does. And the other question I have, a lot of people that come to me with the desire to ascend, to awaken, to become enlightened, but they are still at that survival level where they're just constantly worried about money. Can you help us to understand our relationship with money, how we can manifest more, become prosperous in alignment with the new earth?
Well, it would be more appropriate to say that rather than being in the survival state about money, they're in a survival state in a contest between fear and love. Love and trust go together. Fear is on the other side of that. So what they're working with is their fear. And that's what we spoke of a few moments ago about being unworthy. Why are you afraid you're not worthy of being abundant? Why are you afraid that nothing is going to work for you? Why are you afraid you're going to be in lack? You don't need to be afraid of this thing. The whole process of money is based upon greed and control, and that is going to come to a reset. It may come through a period of lack where you don't have much, but nobody else will either. And that's a place of joining in unity and figuring out another way how to share so that everyone experiences abundance. Your birthright is to be abundant as a species, but you cannot do that living in a society. It's about competition, greed, and control. So when you recognize the money game is all about control and say, I'm not going to be in this, I'm not going to compete, I'm going to provide for myself with trust that I'll be okay. It opens up to something unfamiliar and trust grows. And then you'll be safe because your heart will tell you where, when, and how to proceed. We do suggest that in this transitory time that you put aside enough food for a period when food is not available, enough pure water if water is not available, enough light and candles or flashlights in case light is not available, enough warmth like blankets in case heat is not available, enough that you could get through maybe a month, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Put that aside and have enough cash in case you cannot use your digital cards, or maybe some currency like pure silver that you could buy a loaf of bread. These are things that you can use that will assess and ease your concern about not having enough while you work at a beginning level of survival to move out of survival mentality into trusting mentality. So you have a backup plan that's very third dimensional, but you also have the guidelines for how to open to trust in your heart and move into the experience of abundance that you with others can create.
As we look out into the future, do you have any other suggestions for us, as you just gave, for guidance on steps we can take to prepare for our future?
Stop waiting on something like Nasara Gasara to give you the money to make you abundant. Realizing that abundance within you is a step forward to be abundant. You create this, not something that's going to be bestowed upon you. Stop waiting for others to rescue you and thinking that because you've done all your work, somebody's going to pick you up because you deserve better. It may be true that you deserve better, but you still have to take the responsibility to attain it. So stop thinking that you do not have responsibility for self to make choices that will help change the world so that you can achieve what you wish to see on the new earth as your future self. And do all of it with love as we do. That's the greatest power there is. We hope that will help you, guide you.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge. Please come back. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And we thank you for your profound, deep, and very expansive questions and for listening to our perspective. As we said, don't believe us. Take the perspective in and trust your own heart. Your heart is what will keep you safe and guide you. This is how we evolved, by learning that. And this is what we're trying to help you learn as well, to empower you. We love you. Good always.
Thank you for that. That was wonderful. What a wonderful conversation. I really, really appreciate you guys sharing your time and being so gracious with your time. You guys, first you're gonna have you have an event in Sedona on August 1st, correct?
Yep.
And it's larkma.com, LAARKMAA.com.
Right?
And that's on. Did you want to tell us about that?
The event's on the homepage, but it's going to be 4 hours where you get to talk to Larkma, Quantimo from the Arcturians, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, the Angel of Light, Cosmic Dr. Antonis, anybody, Garth from the Inner Earth, anybody else who wants to join in and celebrate with us the ascension process, giving tools for ascension, answering many of these questions that have been asked that Aunt Larkma answered today, but from different perspectives, because people receive things in a different way. So they're all coming together at first time ever in a live gathering so people can be present, ask their questions, and more importantly, feel the energy of all these beings so that they get the energetic frequency to raise their own vibration. So,
And I understand that we're talking about there's a good chance you're going to join us for our event in Sedona on November 20th through the 22nd. We would love to have you there to bless us with your presence. And so I'll have a link in the description for that event. And we would love to have our our event blessed and go deep on the topic of allowing for a real future self shift and integration event. So it's been a real honor to speak with you, Pia and Cullen. Thank you so much. Let's talk again very soon, and welcome to the Reality Revolution.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We enjoyed it. Thank you for the questions from your audience. And it's been a real pleasure. We look forward to seeing you again soon as well.
It's been a
Absolutely.
delight, an absolute delight to intermingle our energies together as we just have. It's about sharing. It's about teamwork. It's about creating unity and creating community. So we are absolutely ever thankful that you wanted to speak with us and Larkma.
Thank you for coming. We'll talk again soon. This can't be just the first time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Before you go, I have something special to share. On November 20th through the 22nd, I am hosting a 3-day live in-person event at the Hilton Sedona Resort at Bell Rock. In the Vortex, 3 full days of immersive transformation in one of the most powerful energy centers on the planet. Pineal gland activations, quantum jumping, higher self connection, future self merging, bliss body, wealth consciousness, large sums of money flowing, retro causal influence, a technique based on real quantum physics that your future self is already using to bring you here. The Vortex amplifies everything. The Earth becomes your co-creator. This is something a recording or a single meditation cannot replicate. Tickets are in the description. The space is very limited. I am keeping this intimate because of the power of this location. Sedona, Bell Rock, November 20th through the 22nd. This is the one. You can click the link in the description, or you can go to www.brianscottlive.com/Sedona-2026. I will see you there. I can't wait.